Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Sheena Howard, and in this video we are going to talk about how to use Patreon as a writer. I have over 400 members in my Patreon community, bringing in about $1,500 a month as of making this video, and that number just continues to grow month after month. And I want to share a little bit about how I use Patreon as a writer. So here are 4 ways you can use Patreon as a writer to build your community, to get more readers for your books, and to increase your income. So just as a general rule, you want to be making sure that you're adding value to people's lives. Sometimes as artists and creatives, we tend to think about Patreon as charity. Like people are going to just like us enough to want to subscribe to your thing. And if you can reframe your brain to understand that people will join your community if you're giving them value, then the 4 things we're going to talk about will work for you much, much better. So number 1, I use Patreon to give a book away for free to each of my new members. Now, I only give this book away to members on specific tiers because financially it has to make sense. Now, at first, when I used to give my most popular book away for free, it hurt a little bit because as a writer, I just want to sell my books on the Amazon page or through my website. And at first I was like, why would I spend time to physically mail a book to people around the world? But when I thought about it, it made sense because it's a good lead magnet to get people into my community. And at the end of the day, I want readers. I want my work to be all around the world. So I have people that join my Patreon who are all across the United States, who are in Brazil, who are in Colombia, who are in Canada. And when they join my Patreon, they get a physical copy mailed to them of my most popular book. And so I know my work is having impact all around the planet. So the thing that you give away should hurt a little bit, and that's how you know you're giving something away for value. And it will be easier to make the case when you are asking people to join your Patreon when they know they're going to get something super important. Number 2, make sure each tier is clearly different. So I have a number of tiers right now. I have a $3 tier, a $7 tier, a $19 tier, and a $50 tier. But when people look at those tiers, they can clearly see why each one is different. So between the $3 tier and $7 tier, when people look at those, they should clearly be able to see that the $7 people are getting something extra as opposed to the same thing as the $3 people. And this should be super clear because otherwise people won't know the reason behind why they should join the $12 tier versus the $3 tier or the $7 tier versus the $12 tier. So make sure that each tier clearly shows the additional things that people will be getting. Number 3, write exclusive books and content for your Patreon members. So when I reached my first 100 members, I wrote a book exclusively for my Patreon members. And that book was actually teaching my community how they can get to their first 100 Patreon members. So your Patreon is not about you, it's about the people that you can help and serve. And it was a beautiful thing to be able to give something of value exclusive to my core members. And yes, it takes a little bit of work, but what's the point of someone joining your exclusive community if they're not getting something exclusive in exchange? And I physically mailed out books to all of my first 100 Patreon members, and it was time consuming and you need a system and a process, but that really helped me jump from 100 members to over 400 members within a few months. So number 4, piggybacking off of the last point I made, you want to create milestones so that your community can be excited about reaching the next level in terms of membership. So for my next milestone, which is 500 Patreon members, I've promised my community that I would unlock a $500 micro grant once we reach at least 500 members. This is something that I am not only excited about, but the people in my community are excited about it, and they get something in return for helping us reach that milestone. So the name of the game is to give back to your community. Don't think about your Patreon as just you, and what can you get from people. Think about it as what can you give to the people that will be joining your community. So there is so much more to growing your Patreon as a writer and author, and I hope you grab a copy of First 100, Your Patreon Strategy Guide, which will teach you a 9-step system to getting your first 100 members. Once you get your first 100 members, it's easy to get to 200, 300, 400, and beyond. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I talk all about helping creatives get to the 6-figure mark, because once you get to 6 figures, the sky is the limit from there.